Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alyssa and you should definitely subscribe because when I created this YouTube channel, one of my goals was to make travel videos one day. And obviously travel right now is not really legally allowed. One thing that I've been thinking about a lot is how to make travel pandemic friendly. One great way to do that is road trips. So I thought it'd be really fun to plan like a half road trip, half camping trip. I remember this guy that I heard about a few years ago named Randall Olson, and he went viral because he created an optimized road trip across the United States, and he did all 50 states and he did a few different versions, one that went through major cities and one that went through national parks and stuff like that. And turns out he's from Michigan and also created an optimized Michigan road trip. And basically I started going through his list of cities and attractions to visit in Michigan and went through them all and picked out my favorites and which ones I thought would be interesting for us. And we also have a few places in the state that could be stopping points for us. And I have no idea if people like watching videos like this, but I like doing it. So here we are planning my perfect pandemic friendly Michigan road trip. Okay, so as I mentioned, I have this list from Randall Olson and there's 43 different stops on the list from major cities. There's of course like Detroit and Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids, and then there's also state parks and things like that on here. We will probably be leaving from Detroit. So the first spot on his list is Ypsilanti, and we go to school in Ann Arbor, which is really close to Ypsilanti, so I didn't really think it would be a great place to visit. There's a cute downtown area and there's some outdoorsy things to do, but not a lot. So the next stop is the Henry Ford Museum and Greenfield Village, which is really cool. It's this historical village, but I highly doubt that it'll be open in August when we want to do this road trip, and I've been there a million times also. So next is Detroit, which is where we would be starting from. Next after that is Port SANILAC, which I've never been to. It's a very small town. The population is 623. It's on Lake Huron. When I looked up things to do in Port SANILAC, I went on their website and the first thing that came up was that they have the best sunrise on the east side. So I was like, a sunrise. So I'm thinking day one, we wake up super early, drive to Port SANILAC for sunrise. Okay, so from where we live, it's an hour and a half drive to Port SANILAC, which is not that bad. So if the sun rises at 6, we would have to leave at 4:30. Actually, that is pretty bad, but I think it'd be worth it for the men's, you know? So yeah, I figured we could hang out there, enjoy the sunrise. There's a historic lighthouse that was built in 1886, so that would be fun to see. So the next stop after that is Flint. I've only been to Flint one time, but when I went, I actually thought it was really cool. It was more of a city than I thought it would be. There's definitely a lot to do, and one of the main things to do is a farmer's market, which I went to the one time I went there. But I think after watching the sunrise, that would be a good place to stop for food. And then I also was looking up, and Flint has this, it's called Stepping Stone Falls, and it's like a picnic area. It's like a little man-made waterfall, I think. So that would be kind of nice for a stop. The next stop is FRANKENMUTH, which I've heard so much about FRANKENMUTH. I've driven past it probably 6 million times, but I've never actually been. It is Michigan's little Bavaria. And a lot of the things to do there are not really pandemic friendly. They have a lot of shopping. There's some indoor water parks, which are definitely not a thing. There's also Bronner's Christmas Wonderland. Actually, I take it back. I have been there. I've been to Bronner's Christmas Wonderland. And then there's also a place called Cheese House, which is very intriguing to me because I love cheese. So like I said, a lot of the stuff is not really pandemic friendly, but I think it's still worth a stop because like I said, I've heard so much about it and I barely spent any time there, and I think it's worth spending some time, and I think it's also pretty on the way. Oh yeah, it's super on the way. Okay, next on the list is Bay City. There's a Riverwalk Pier. That looks fun. That looks like a fun little city. That's another place I've driven past so many times and have never been. So I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the list. All right, after Bay City is Mount Pleasant. So I've also heard a lot about Mount Pleasant because that is where Central Michigan University is, and I know a ton of people that went there and some of my family members went there. And there's also a casino there, and honestly, other than that, I don't think there's much. Correct me if I'm wrong, if any of you went to Central or are from Mount Pleasant, but it's also pretty out of the way. If you look at the map, it's like we're all along the coast and then like go all the way into Mount Pleasant, and I just don't really think it's worth that much driving because there's not that much to do there, so I'm not gonna add it to the list. Sorry, Mount Pleasant. Okay, so after that is East TAWAS, Michigan, which I had never heard about before doing this research. It looks kind of fun. It looks pretty. I looked up things to do, and there's a historic lighthouse. That's pretty common among cities in Michigan, but it looks super pretty. I think it would be a good place to like picnic for dinner because let's see, at this point, yeah, so if we did stop there at that point, we would have had almost 6 hours of driving time. So I think that would be a good stop, at least to like stretch or for dinner or whatever. Okay, so here's where things get a little complex. So after that, the next stop on the list is Alpena, Michigan, which is a little bit further up the state. And then right after that is Gaylord, Michigan, which has a lot of winter stuff to do. There's a lot of skiing and stuff like that, but it's the summer, so we're not going to do that. But also, we do have a place to stay in Grayling, which is kind of in between. I'm not super into going to Alpena. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of stuff to do. Gaylord is only Michigan. Gaylord is only winter stuff. So I think from, what was that? From East Tawas, we will go to Grayling. It's not on Randall Olson's list, so sorry if you don't approve, Randall. Okay, and that is the end of day one. To recap day one, starting in Detroit, driving an hour and 38 minutes to Port SANILAC for sunrise, an hour and 34 minutes to Flint, 32 minutes to Frankenmuth. We'll see what we do in Frankenmuth, 29 minutes to Bay City, and then an hour and 17 minutes to East Tawas, and then an hour and 21 minutes to Grayling, which is where we will end the day. So total, that is 6 hours and 49 minutes of driving time, but if we really do wake up at sunrise, it's a pretty good day. Okay, day two, we start in Grayling. So the next stop on the list is Sheboygan. Sheboygan, I've been there kind of before. There's a lighthouse, but I don't really know if that's a good like first stop to the day. Here's the thing, so after this, after Sheboygan, we have Mackinaw City and St. Ignace, which are the two cities at the bottom and top of the Mackinac Bridge, which if you're not from Michigan, the Mackinac Bridge is very iconic. The world's 24th longest main span and longest suspension bridge between anchorages in the Western Hemisphere. So it's a long bridge. Then we also have Mackinac Island, which I love Mackinac Island so much. And to be quite honest, a lot of the things on Mackinac Island are not pandemic friendly, but we're just gonna hope, because Mackinac Island is a wonderful, wonderful place. I used to go there with my family a lot when I was little, and we would stay at the Grand Hotel, which is this iconic old hotel. It's so beautiful. And you can bike around the island, you can get fudge. They're famous for their fudge, and there's just so much to do in Mackinac Island. So I feel like I want to make that like a day trip. Oh, another thing about Mackinac Island, you can't drive there. You have to take a ferry. So you can take a ferry from Mackinac City or from St. Ignace. I guess we'd probably drive across the bridge first. I think that'd be fun, and take the ferry from St. Ignace. So then the stop after that is Sault Ste. Marie. I never know how to spell this word. It's spelled like 7 different ways. S-A-U-L-T. What's in Sault Ste. Marie is the Soo Locks, which is spelled S-O-O. I don't get it. The Soo Locks are like, so Lake Superior is like this high, and what lake is that? Lake Huron is like this. So if you have a ship, you can't go from one to the other. So you go in the locks and you're like, you're boating along, and then you go in here, and then it locks on this side and this side, and then they lower the water and then unlock it so you can go to the lake. Yeah, I've never been there. I've heard it's really cool. So from St. Ignace to Sault Ste. Marie, oh, that's not that far. I thought it would be a lot farther, but it's 49 minutes. So maybe we can camp in Sault Ste. Marie and then do the Soo Locks like first thing next morning, if that's an option. I don't even know. Like, I think there's tours, which might not be happening because of the pandemic. I don't know. That sounds like a good day to me. So let's make that day 2. Grayling to Mackinaw City is an hour and 16 minutes. To St. Ignace, it's another 17 minutes. It's just up the bridge. Mackinaw City to St. Ignace. Take the ferry to Mackinac Island and then come back. It's only a 49-minute drive to Sault Ste. Marie. So that's the end of day 2. Day 3, we wake up in Sault Ste. Marie. That rhymes. After Sault Ste. Marie is Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. This is probably what I'm most excited about. Pictured Rocks is super famous. It's this beautiful rock structure in the UP. So I definitely want to spend a lot of time there. It's almost a 2-hour drive. Okay, the next stop after that is Marquette, which is like a city. From Pictured Rocks to Marquette, it is another hour and 48 minutes, but maybe that could be like the day. Maybe we do Sault Ste. Marie / Soo Locks in the morning for a little bit, drive 2 hours to Pictured Rocks, get there at like 1-ish, do some exploring, and then drive to Marquette and set up camp there. You can camp there, right? So since I've never been to Pictured Rocks and it's super famous, I want to spend a lot of time there, and then we'll camp in Marquette. So that's day 3. So day 4, we wake up in Marquette. The stop after Marquette on this list is Mount Bohemia, which I believe is a ski resort, so we will not be stopping there. But shortly after that is the Keweenaw Peninsula, which is also very famous and also I think like a good spot to camp. Marquette to the Keweenaw Peninsula. That's 2 hours and 15 minutes. But I think there's so much to do there. Oh, there's Isle Royale, which is a really famous national park. Not even a state park, it's a national park. Oh, there's also Brockway Mountain Drive, which is like a famous 8-mile drive. I think there's a lot to, okay, so that should also be like a full day thing, I think. Okay, so the next stop after that is ESCANABA. It's the 3rd biggest city in the UP and the population is 12,000 people. So from Keweenaw Peninsula to ESCANABA, that's far. That's like over 3 hours. So maybe we should camp again in Keweenaw. I feel like Keweenaw Peninsula, you need solid time to explore that place. So let's call it a day. Day 4 is just from Marquette to Keweenaw Peninsula. Nothing complex, but I think it will be very scenic and beautiful. We start in Keweenaw, and then the next step after that, like I said, is ESCANABA. There's not a ton to do there, but there's the ESCANABA River State Forest, which sounds intriguing to me. And then right after that is MANISTIQUE, but they're pretty close together. Just kidding. I have no sense of northern Michigan geography. It's an hour. Is it worth going to both? Let me know in the comments below. But for the sake of this, I'm gonna say it is. So that's 4 hours and 17 minutes of driving time. After MANISTIQUE is Harbor Springs. So Harbor Springs, there's not that much to do. Maybe we, here's the thing. I don't feel a strong need to go to Harbor Springs. I think I've been there before, so we're gonna skip that. So maybe we camp in MANISTIQUE and then the next day go back down to the lower peninsula. So day 5, we wake up in Keweenaw. We drive 3 hours and 19 minutes to ESCANABA, and then we drive 58 minutes to MANISTIQUE and stay there. Day 6, we wake up in MANISTIQUE. And then we're gonna skip Harbor Springs. So next after that is Petoskey, which I've been to before, but it's really cute. And when I was doing research on things to do in Petoskey, one of the things is to search for Petoskey stones, which if you're not from Michigan, you probably have no idea what that is, but basically they're these rocks that have been weathered by the lake. I think it would just be fun to stop at the beach, look for some rocks. That sounds fun to me. I don't know. I think it's fun to look for rocks. So let's go to Petoskey. So after Petoskey is Charlevoix, which I've also been to, and it's pretty similar to Petoskey, I feel like, so I don't really know if we need to do both, but it is really cute. There's a lighthouse, of course, there's beaches, there's something called mushroom house tours. Fun fact about me, I'm afraid of mushrooms, so after Charlevoix is Traverse City. So there's a ton to do in Traverse City. It's so cute, it's such a great city. It's just such fun, like summer vibes, and there's a ton of restaurants and breweries and wineries even and stuff like that, and beaches, and just so much to do. It's super, super cute little town. Hopefully things there are open again, and if not, we could obviously get like takeout or something from some restaurants in Traverse City, but super great place. Definitely want to stop there. And then after that, we can continue and go up to the Leelanau Peninsula, and that is where we'll stay because we have a place to stay there. So to recap, we're waking up in MANISTIQUE, driving 2 hours and 15 minutes to Petoskey, stopping there searching for some rocks, driving an hour and 23 minutes to Traverse City, and then quick 20 or 30 minute drive up to the Leelanau Peninsula, which is where we'll stay for the night. So we're already on day 7. This is getting lengthy, but exciting. So after the Leelanau Peninsula on Randall Olson's list, we have the Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore, which I definitely want to go to. I've been there before, but it's been a while. It's a 35-mile stretch of lakeshore on Lake Michigan, and there's these huge sand dunes which you can like hike and climb up, and it's super fun. And there's also a forest called the Maple Beach Forest, so we're for sure adding that. So that's actually extremely close to where we would be staying. It's like less than an hour away, so that's a good like morning thing. Or we could even do it like if we stay there for a few days, we could go back and forth. But for the sake of the planning and for this video, we'll just say that we leave from there and go to Sleeping Bear Dunes. So that's like 45 minutes. And then after Sleeping Bear Dunes is CADILLAC, Michigan. When I first saw this on the list, I was like, eh, but it actually looks kind of cute, kind of fun. So there's a lake there, there's places to camp, there's the Huron-Manistee National Forest, there's a state park called the William Mitchell State Park that's supposed to be really good for sunset. So maybe we will end the day there. So it's an hour and 30 minute drive to CADILLAC, but I think we could camp there. I think there's enough stuff to do there that it would make it worth a stop. So to recap day 7, wake up in LEELANAU Peninsula, drive to Sleeping Bear Dunes, spend some time there, an hour and 30 minutes to CADILLAC. On to day 8. So now we're getting back into places that I've been before and like lower Michigan, like places that aren't personally as exciting to me. So we have the Manistee National Golf and Resort. So we're gonna skip that obviously because we have no reason to go to a golf and resort. And then we have Ludington, which I really don't know anything about Ludington. There's a lighthouse, classic. There's an elk ranch, but there's not a ton. And then after that is Michigan's Adventure, which is an amusement park. Obviously that's not happening, not pandemic friendly. And after that is Muskegon. So let's see how far of a drive it is. Maybe in this day we'll go from Cadillac to Grand Rapids. So this day we're starting in Cadillac, driving an hour and 24 minutes to Ludington, driving 59 minutes to Muskegon, 42 minutes to Grand Rapids, and that's where we'll end the day. So that brings us to day 9, starting off in Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids, I definitely want to spend a lot of time there. I've never been there, but I've heard so many amazing things. This thing I read said that Grand Rapids is the craft beverage capital of the US. So they have a ton of beer and breweries, but also a lot of coffee and apparently other craft beverages. There's like kombucha and other stuff. I'm pretty confident that we could spend an entire day in Grand Rapids, and maybe that should just be day 9. That might be good actually after like a big driving day the day before. Like I said, now we're getting into the part of Michigan that I'm a lot more familiar with. So the last few stops, we have Holland, South Haven, Kalamazoo, Binder Park Zoo, Coldwater, Lansing, Jackson, Tecumseh, and Ann Arbor. And I'm thinking we'll probably end in Ann Arbor or maybe Detroit. And those last cities I listed, like honestly don't have a super strong interest. So maybe we will go from Grand Rapids all the way back to Ann Arbor / Detroit. Okay, so Grand Rapids to Detroit is actually only 2 hours and 15 minutes. I thought it was way longer, but to Ann Arbor, it's like 2 hours. So it's really not that bad. And a lot of these cities are on the way. So we'll just say we have a few stops. Okay, so day 10, we're gonna start in Grand Rapids. I think we should stop in Holland. Holland is like a little like Dutch city. There's like a tulip garden and like windmills. So that'd be a good stop actually after Grand Rapids. And then we have South Haven, which has a cool hiking trail. Kalamazoo, Binder Park Zoo, which is a real zoo. Kalamazoo is a city. Binder Park Zoo is a zoo. Not really pandemic friendly. It's actually open. I looked it up and it's opening this weekend, but not a huge fan of zoos. Okay, so now we're getting into like it's out of the way. I think South Haven is too out of the way. And then there's Coldwater. Oh, I looked this up. Coldwater actually looks so cute. They have a place you can camp called Sunset Shores, and there's a drive-in movie theater and an antique mall. The antique mall is not pandemic friendly, but drive-in theaters are, and they're cute. So I definitely want to stop there. Okay, maybe we can camp there. Is that too much? I don't know. No, I want to do it. I'm adding it to the plan. We can always change our minds. Okay, so day 10, we're ending in Coldwater. Day 11, we're going to start in Coldwater. We're going to skip Lansing, Jackson, and Tecumseh, and then drive 2 hours and 16 minutes to Ann Arbor, our college town. I could very, very easily spend a day in Ann Arbor, if not the rest of my life. Anyways, and then I don't know if we'll actually end in Ann Arbor or end in Detroit, but for the sake of planning and the sake of this video, we'll make it a circle and end in Detroit. So that is the whole road trip I just planned. That was so fun. So it's 11 days. Let's go through each stop and we will count. Okay, day 1, Detroit, Port SANILAC, FLINT, FRANKENMUTH, Bay City, East TAWAS, GRAYLING, Mackinac City, St. Ignace, Mackinac Island, Sault Ste. Marie, Pictured Rocks, Marquette, Keweenaw Peninsula, ESCANABA, MANISTIQUE, Petoskey, Traverse City, LEELANAU Peninsula, Sleeping Bear Dunes, CADILLAC, Ludington, Muskegon, Grand Rapids, Holland, Kalamazoo, Coldwater, Ann Arbor, Detroit. Was that 32? I was going like this, but not actually counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 29. How did I get 32? I think it's 29. It's either 29 or 32. Anyways, it's a lot of stops. It's 11 days. I'm so excited. 11 days. Probably even more than that, honestly, because some of our stops I'm sure we'll stay in for multiple days, like where we have places to stay. But that was planning my whole road trip. So if you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe, because I will definitely, when we actually go on this road trip, I will definitely vlog it and post content all along the way. And then if you did like this video, please let me know, because I would love, honestly, to plan the whole US road trip. Even if I never end up doing it, I would love to plan it out. It's on my bucket list to do a road trip of all 50 states, so this is just the beginning. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching.